Lee Coc is here. His credits include The Mule.
Look, nobody's gonna cut up this truck, understand?
Do yourself a favor. Don't look in that bag.
SWAT.
What, pig? You gonna shoot an unarmed man?
LA's Finest.
Cute. Oh, let me get in this.
Hermanos.
What the f? Don't do no Oh, where's my brother?
The Tax Collector.
The vato dropped all his cash on an engagement ring and then finds his puto's number all in her f***ing phone, sexting the f*** out of her.
All right, we're here with, reset me. We're here with my man Lee Coc, actor, extraordinaire, rapper, military man, Texan, woohoo!
That's right, man.
All my exes live in Texas.
Going straight.
We're
We're going to that concert. We're going, actually. He's coming in June. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so, I mean, you've worked with Clint Eastwood, you've worked with David Ayer, you've worked with Shia LaBeouf, Jessica Alba, Gabrielle Union, Dwayne Martin. I mean, it just goes down a list of big people you've worked with in your career as an actor. Verity wanted to know Clint Eastwood's style of directing.
Man, so amazing. First of all, I had booked The Mule. That was my first big project. That was actually my first big audition. But while I was waiting to hear from that, I had booked a show called Too Old to Die Young. And Nicholas Refn, Miles Teller was on that. Nicholas Refn was the director. And so he's amazing. And the movie Drive, Nicholas Refn directed that. So I had worked with a lot of great video directors, Colin Tilley, a bunch of shout outs to all these people I worked with. But then I got blessed and I booked The Mule. And
right.
Having an experience to be able to work with a few people, even a couple projects with James Franco, you know, directors are a key. You're right. They're the key to making movies. And a lot of them, you know, you're going to do 10 takes, 5 takes. You're going to do different angles. You're going to do this and action, cut, all that. So with Clint, I remember the first time being on set and our very first scene, I'm walking around just feeling, we were shooting in El Paso. I'm feeling the set. You know, I had to get out. I wanted to feel that. And the other actors, I think, were sitting back. And Mr. Eastwood, well, he used to get mad when I call him that. I'll say Clint. He walks up to me, introduces himself, and obviously I'm starstruck. Huge Clint Eastwood fan. My grandfather, my real father, rest in peace to both of them. Huge Clint Eastwood fans, and so I'm also a musician, and so I followed his career, him being a jazz musician.
Oh yeah,
and
man.
so
Midnight.
Yeah. And so Carmen Argenziano and Matt Snyder were very instrumental to me booking this role. We worked together. And rest in peace, Carmen, man. I love you. Miss you. And so we were prepared because of him being a jazz musician, which is something I knew, and then them knowing what they did, that Mr. Eastwood works. You have to be able to understand your script and understand what you're walking into when you walk with him, when you walk in there. So I meet him, right? He comes up to me, introduces himself, and talks about my audition.
Right.
So I did something really crazy. I'm going to get off that just for a second to go in, and we'll see how that plays into the directing. So my audition was something where I got my first audition when I signed with my agency, Momentum. Gary, I love you. Thank you. Steph, I found Gary through Steph. And so I had 5 roles, and I was new. Just been in school with Brian, and I have been doing this a couple of years, got my own agent. And so I looked at these roles, and I saw one that I fell in love with, and it was a guy called Bug. And Lobo Sebastian Lobo, he ended up booking that. Shout out to him. Great actor, amazing. He's in a bunch of great movies. You guys can look him up. But I originally only wanted that one. And so I called Carmen first, and I said, hey, Mr. A, I always called him Mr. A. I got this audition. You never believe it. It's Clint Eastwood. It's The Mule. I think it's his last project. He's directing it. Bradley Cooper, Lawrence Fishburne, all these amazing actors are in it. And so I said, look, it's 5 roles, but I only want to audition for one. And Carmen says, look, kid, what do you mean you only want to audition for one? And I said, look, the other ones were Mexican 1, Mexican 2, Assault Rifle Guy, and then I can't remember Bug's partner's name, him, and then Bug. And so when I saw the sides for Bug, I was like, man, this is the role I want. This is me. And Carmen says, kid, you've never worked. And you got to just audition for all of them and prepare for I'm going to prepare for them. But what if I go in and I tell them I just want to audition for this one role, you know? And he said, you can't do that, you know? And I was like, oh, you know, okay. And I'm listening to him. Next thing, I call Matt, get off the phone with him. With all due respect, I'm listening to him, but I had this gut feeling this is what I wanted to do. So I called Matt and I said, hey, Matt, I got this audition. It's the Mule, Clint Eastwood. Matt's going crazy. We're hollering on the phone together. And I tell him what I want to do. It's 5 roles. And I want to only, Axel, I think was the other role. Actually, it's Bug, Axel, Mexican 1, Mexican 2, assault rifle guy. And so I said, yeah, let's, this is what I want to do. This is my plan. I want to audition for this guy. And I know all these other dudes, because I was on the video circuit. I was the bad guy on all the videos, the drug dealer. So I would hear these guys going in on these auditions, and none of them were in acting schools. And I'm not knocking because of that, but I didn't think that, I always wanted to believe that I took this, and I still want to believe that I take this pretty serious. I work pretty hard at my craft, and some dudes may have it easier. I'm not saying because they don't that I should have it and they shouldn't. That's not what I want anybody to take what I just said as, but I work hard at this, and I would watch these guys talk about these auditions, and I knew that I was going to be going to an audition with all these same dudes that were in this video circuit, because some of them, Noel G, some of these guys were all doing this stuff, right? Commercials and different things. So I said, I want to wear something different. I know a little bit about cartel people, you know, and I know a little bit about that lifestyle. And I knew that everybody was going to come in wearing a certain wife beater, Dickies. And, you know, so I wanted to only audition for this one role. And I tell Matt that after Carmen telling me don't do it. And I tell him, I go into detail with Matt about what I want to do, because Matt's more open to it and he's listening to me. And Matt says, look, bro, this is what actors do. They make decisions. They make strong decisions and they stick to them. So I wanted to dress different. My audition was at 10 a.m. that morning. So I knew that if I would have walked into this place, which was Malpaso, Warner Brothers, which is Clint's office, I knew if I would have walked in here wearing what I wanted to wear and doing what I wanted to do in this scene, after looking at this one scene, that everyone would see me and hear me, and word would get around, because everyone talks to each other. As big as Hollywood and LA is, it's still a very small town. I always tell people, treat people with respect and never step on from the, you know, from the guys who make crafty to everything. You want to be respectful, because that word gets around. So just like when you go in an audition, somebody's going to say, oh, Lee Coc went in dressed like this. Lee Coc went in and did this during the audition. And I didn't want nobody to know. So I tell Matt, I want to call my agent. I want to only go out for this one role, and I want to dress like this. I'll prepare for all of them, and I want to show up last. What's the last audition I'm going to, you know, I try to always be honest, right? Because I'm a man of integrity, but I said I'm going to lie and say I got something to do that morning so that I can get my audition. Right. So Matt says, that's what actors do. You made that choice. Stick to it. And I didn't want to disrespect Carmen I still prepared. And I get all this. Fast forward to the audition. For those of you who don't know, The Mule's about a true story about a man who was working for the cartel. He was a truck driver, and he was hauling drugs across the states for a long time before anybody knew. And so there's a part where Clint wasn't doing what they were supposed to. They take him to a field and they pop a trunk. This is the audition. And this is when we were still going in and doing auditions, which I used to love, because you can book the room. Self-tapes are better because you can keep doing it till you get it right. But going in and booking the room is another part of that we've lost, right? That's done, I think, since COVID. So this was going in. And so there's a moment where he pops the trunk, and you have to take this moment into this dead body. And so I know that everybody's going to play this role a certain way, trying to be tough, trying to yell, trying to be... And if you have an old man in a situation and you're surrounded by people with guns, and you're in a area where no matter how hard or loud or whatever screams, no one's going to hear, there's no need to be tough, right? You can approach this very calmly. And I had this way I wanted to approach this scene, and me and Matt found this. Matt actually came up with, look, I love everything you want to do, but I want to add this one thing. So there's a moment where I allowed like 10 long seconds into this audition. And even the guy who was taping me was a gentleman, and we're in the office. They're taping me, and they're about to speak because they're thinking I'm forgetting my lines. Right. But I'm taking all of this area around me, being in this field. I'm looking at this dead body. I'm staring at Clint. I'm looking back at this body. And I say this moment where I say, because the lines were like, you pop the trunk, and it's like, take a look around. There's nobody out here. No one around for miles. And so I yelled, Matt was like, look, I want you to yell help at the top of your lungs, right? It's not in the scene, but it's something, if we add this, if we like to break rules, like in your class, right? Yeah. It's like you said yesterday, it's an art, not a science, right? So sometimes, as long as you're being truthful, it's not gimmicky, and the scene is, you're not doing something to draw attention, but this is a real moment. So I do this holler, right? I show up, we'll get into the beginning of the audition. I do this yell, I take it back down, do the audition, blew everybody's mind. It was the two people. The guy who was holding the camera.
Right.
He's got tears on his eyes. Right. He was like, "Oh my God, you're Bug." The girl back there, I had scared her because I yelled. Right. And fast forward, when I walked out of the office, everybody was like, "What the hell just happened in there?" But back into the audition, so I go in, and I almost don't make it to the audition because they have me under as Lee Coc, and everybody who knows me knows that that's my stage name. That's been my name since I was 10 years old. Lee is my middle name, so my government name, my first name and last name are two different. So when you go into a place like Warner Brothers, you have to have the correct documents, and I get up there. And my name is not the same as that. They didn't want to let me in the building. Right. And I try to get everywhere early, but it took me about 20 minutes to get in. I had to run the set. I'm carrying these clothes because I prepared for all five auditions, but I only wanted this one. So they asked me which one first. I hit Bug, audition's over, and they're like, "All right, which one you want to do next?" And I said, "With all due respect, that's all I want to do." And then the guy looks at his clipboard and is like, "Wait, what's your name? What have you done before?" And I'm like, "Oh, I haven't done anything." And I went in wearing this outfit, like cartel style outfit versus the Dickies. And I carried my Dickies and my other stuff for the other ones in case they were saying you have to audition. But I tell them this, and I said, "Look, I'm not trying to be, but I got this connection with this guy Bug, and I feel like this is me, and that's all I want to do." But I prepared for the other four, and the guy was like, "Well, so you're not going to do?" I said, "Well, if you want to see me read," he goes, "Well, honestly, I haven't seen an audition like yours today, and even in the past, so I think you're fine. But let me ask you a question. If Clint, because we're going to bring back 300 or 400 other guys, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but they were so impressed with my audition, they said, we're going to bring back 300 or 400 other guys. If we want to just give you, we don't need to see anything else. If we want to give you one of the other roles, would you do it?" And I said, "Well, absolutely. Who's going to turn down a Clint Eastwood movie?" Right. So Mexican 1, Mexican 2 had some good lines. Originally, Assault Rifle Guy only had one line, "Don't look in the bag." Right. And so they're tripping out that I don't want to do the other, not that I didn't, but I told them I'm prepared. And they're cool with it. I walk out as I'm going down. I get through security back. They're like, "Oh, everything worked out." When I walk out of the office, everybody's like, "What the hell just happened in there?" Because I just yelled help at the top of my lungs and took it all the way down. But I get a call from my agent. I hadn't even made it to my car. And Gary's like, "What you doing there?" And I'm thinking I'm going to be in trouble because I'm brand new. You know what I mean? I'm like, "What do you mean?" So I was a huge pot smoker for a long time, but because of Brian and some other people not telling me not to smoke pot, but I would never smoke while I had to do anything. So I had to step out, go to my car, smoke a joint. I was very nervous, and I'm getting a call, and I'm thinking maybe I'm getting a call because I'm smoking a joint by my car, but I'm outside, or maybe they're mad because I yelled. Yeah. And so he says, "Well, man, look, I'll tell you this, and I'm not supposed to tell you this, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but they're going to put you on hold. For all these roles, whatever you did amazing, because we got a call back instantly that we like him and we want to make sure he's available for this time for one of these roles." And I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. And I knew some big actors that went out for this film and everyone was talking about it. And I always wanted to say, "I'm already on hold." I wanted to tell people because this was my first project. And so I didn't. So fast forward to meeting Clint on set. He walks up to me. I had to say all that to say this. Sometimes you got to go the long route. Mm-hmm. And so I get on set, and Clint, he walks up to me and he introduces himself, and he says, "I really liked your audition. Thanks for coming out." So I was amazed, when he said that. And so right before I found out I booked this, and I'm going to go right back just because the story makes sense here, I was shooting an independent film called Rock, which is out right now. Shout out to my guy, Cut. It's out right now. You can look it up. It's on any platform. It's ROCK, Rock. Great movie. Noel G's in it. Myself, Wilson Flores, my boy Cut. I helped train him. Some great actors. What's his name's brother? He's in Baby Boy. It'll come to me in a second. Great actors in that. So I'm
Tyrese?
No, not Tyrese, but he was okay. What's Show Me the Money? What's
Cuba Gooding Jr.?
His brother, Omar Gooding. Yeah, Omar's in it as well. Great guy. Some great, my boy Daylight, amazing battle rapper, one of the best to ever do it. He's in it as well. And so I'm filming that movie, and Noel G, I got him on that project, and we're actually going to have dinner one day, and he's talking about the Mule, and I want to tell him I'm already on hold. And so I get a call with Noel. And Noel hadn't even got a call yet. My agent says, "Look, you booked the Mule. We're going to let you know which role tomorrow." "What do you mean? I want Bug." Like, "Well, man, it might be Bug, but it might be one of these other, and it might be Assault Rifle Guy. They just really like you from the jump. They want you on this project." So I'm like, damn, man, I don't want Assault Rifle Guy, right? First, and one-liner, and I'm like, okay, but whatever at that point. So I get the call the next day. You booked it. Amazing. What did I book? I'm on set all day. And then when I finally answer my phone, my agent's going crazy because I'm filming an independent film that's not making no money. Here we got the Mule, and I got to give him the okay because that's the way it works, even though he knows that I'm going to do it. But they didn't know if I was going to take assault rifle guy. And so he says, we're going to give you assault. He's going to give you assault rifle guy. But, and I'm like, oh no. He goes, but he liked your audition so much that they're giving you more lines. They're going to give you some scenes to kind of just play with Clint and do whatever you guys do and just let the camera capture. This is how this goes into the directing, right? We're going to let the camera. And I'm like, amazing. You know, so now, you know, I got 5 good scenes in that movie, right? And so this is my first project. And so I get to set. I meet him. We're talking. Talks about my audition. And then he's like, I hear you're a Marine. So he wants to hear the Marine Corps stories. And I'm like, yeah, great. You know, we talk a little bit. So then we go back to the trailer because they had to get something right. And then he comes up to me because I was there with Robert Lasardo. Shout out to my guy, Robert Lasardo. Love him. That's my brother. He's in a lot of great movies. You guys, he's been doing it since Short Circuit. Las Locos kick your ass. Las Locos kick your face. Las Locos kick your balls. Remember Short Circuit?
Yeah,
So that was him on that line. But Steven Seagal movies, Nip Tuck, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, you guys all know, if you look him up, he's great. So we end up being on the same flight, flying over. We talk about the movie. He booked Mexican 1. He's talking about that, and he's actually Italian, not even Mexican, but he plays a lot of roles. And so the other guy, they don't like being called Mexican 1, Mexican 2. I had been bugging my agent about the script the whole time. I need the script because I want to read the whole script. And a project like this, they don't give to a guy like me. So I bugged them. And so they gave me a good chunk of it, right? And but then it happened. They happened to be redoing some stuff, right? And so, especially because I had some improv scenes. So when I get down, I touch down, and so they tell me we got a copy of the script, I had read it the night before. So when I get to set, Clint comes and says, you know, these other guys are kind of having an issue with being called Mexican 1 and Mexican 2. And so they're coming up with their names. We got them. What would you like to?
Mexican Uno, Mexican Dos. Is that what
so they asked me.
It to?
They asked me, what would you like to be called? And so I said, well, look, I read the script, and I'm the only guy with an assault rifle. So if I pick a name for myself, nobody's going to know because nobody's going to call me my name. So the only way that I'm going to stand out in the credits is by just saying assault rifle guy, because if I do something that someone doesn't like, they're going to be, oh, that's the guy. We don't know his name, but he was the guy with the assault rifle the entire time we were in the film.
Right.
So I tell him that. I just want to be assault rifle guy because if someone wants to look me up, this is my first project. And he's like, man, Clint tells me, like, your audition, the way you're thinking right now, like, this is, for a young actor who's never done, this is the way you want to be thinking, kid. And to get that compliment from Mr. Eastwood was amazing. So now we get back on, go ahead.
I was going to say, in LA Confidential on IMDb, it said, I was intoxicated officer, Hollywood Station, for 10 years. And then Amazon bought it, and they changed it to officer detective. There's no such thing.
Right.
You're either an officer or a detective.
Right.
And I called them and I emailed them trying to get it back because exactly what you said. Who's the intoxicated officer? Oh, everybody knows that. The guy over the punch bowl and instigated the riot with the Mexicans in the jail cell.
Yeah.
Nobody, officer detective, yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
And they, when you're new and you're young, you want anything for people to recognize. So that's 100% true, and they took that away and never put it back. But that was what it said in the script.
Yeah.
Intoxicated officer, Hollywood Station. Anyway, well, yeah, so you were thinking what you needed to think.
Full circle, too, because, like, you weren't comfortable being because you didn't want to be him, to really being like, no, I am.
Yeah.
At that point, I mean, that's who I am.
Yeah.
And
Right.
what's crazy is I'm the 5th guy on the credits when they roll down.
Right.
I think I'm either I'm before Bradley Cooper, I believe.
Well, that's how it should be.
I'm like the 4th or 5th guy. Oh, so it was great. So we fast forward to being on set. And so Clint, we walk out. And so I remember one guy walking up and like, I had come up with some ideas and there was another guy and I can't remember his name. He played Mexican too. And so he had a moment where I was like, look, I'm going to grab this orange and do this. Look, this is what we're going to do. And we're talking. And so we run a rehearsal, right? Clint comes out and the guy walks up to Clint and he says, so what do you think if and he stops him and he says, look, kid, I hired you for a reason.
Right.
So whatever you do, just do, right? And I could see the fear in his eyes. And I had talked to him and Robert. Look, he's a jazz musician. please beware that whatever we do, he's not going to say what's on the script. I promise you. If you're waiting for that last line, which is blue skies, and blue skies doesn't hit because he says it a different way. It's really clear out today.
Right.
And you're waiting for blue skies, you're going to be lost. And obviously Robert is a professional. He was on it. The other guy kind of stumbled. But the way he's got a crew that's been working with him. Clint keeps his people close.
Yeah.
So everybody works with him,
Yeah.
and no one's allowed to call him Mr. Eastwood. They all call him either boss or Clint. He got on me a couple of times. Excuse my language, but God damn it, don't call me Mr. Eastwood. Call me Clint. Me being a Marine, me being from Texas, my mother raised me like that, and so I'm very respectful. And so we go in after this rehearsal. The guy kind of fumbles. Clint's got everything set up, and let's try one more. And there's no action, right? With Clint, it's only, and I'll tell you why. It's just, all right, let's go ahead and do it. Or I'm ready when you're ready or whatever. And so we go into the scene and there's no cut either. I think that'll do it. You know, that's about it. Really calm too. You know, he's very calm. He gets his own soda. No assistant's going to get his chair, get his soda. I mean, he was 90 when we shot that, 90, 91. And so he plays, so people who saw it, like, man, he's getting old. He moves better than he does in the scene, but the scene calls for this gentleman to be that old.
Right.
And you know, because he's now 96, I think, and he's still trucking. He skis and everything. So, and so we shoot the first take, right, which I'm thinking is a rehearsal. And so, boom, and then, all right, we're standing there, and he goes, and he kind of was getting ready to walk at the camera, and then someone else, I think it was the AD, took a quick look at Video Village, and then there was a thumbs up. Next scene. And so it's banker's hours. It's, what do you work, 9 to 4, 10 to 4? You're not working weekends with Clint. It's very easy. He likes to make everybody feel very comfortable. You could shoot a rehearsal. We shot a rehearsal one time. Let's shoot a rehearsal. Cameras are rolling. He'll look. He's already, because when we take it back to when I was walking around the set, he was doing the same. So he is looking at every piece of everything up early in the morning. He knows where he wants his camera placed. He doesn't need to he doesn't even watch replay so much. Sometimes he doesn't even want them watching replay. Right. I think that was the shot. I got it. I know the angle I had, and it was so easy. We were done every day by 2, 3 o'clock, 1500, right? We're done. People are going out drinking. I'm hanging back. I start having lunch with him. We're having dinner. We start talking. He's asking me some Marine Corps stories. So I asked him one day, I said, you know, what's going on, sir? I worked with some other, why don't you say action or a cut? And so he goes to a story about when he was doing the old Westerns and how when you clap the sticks and yell action, the horses used to go crazy on set. And so a lot of these new actors aren't prepared the way they need to prepare because everyone wants to be instantly famous, right? Everybody wants to emulate the end result instead of the process. Yeah. And that's the problem we have with the writing, the acting, and that's another podcast. But so when Clint told me, he goes, I like to just ease everybody in and out. And it was so easy. It was so tripped out to work because you're thinking it's Clint Eastwood, everybody was so amazing on set. I mean, even in the makeup trailers, you know, I heard some amazing things you know, that he was saying about me, and it really changed. It made me want to go right back to acting school. I remember coming back and getting back into class, and everyone's like, "Why are you're booking?" I had started booking. I booked a lot of stuff from there. I had booked The Tax Collector. I had booked SWAT. I had booked Too Old to Die Young, The Rookie. It was just, I was going crazy, and so I wanted just to keep getting better. And it was the best and most amazing experience, I think, was working with Clint, because not a lot of people can say that they did that. And that was my first big audition, and that was my first project. And so it was a blessing. And when I tell you banker's hours, it's like banker's hours with early dismissal, you know, and it was great, and it made you feel comfortable. But I knew in my heart that it's not going to always be like this. So I didn't let my guard down. Right. And I went right back to school and right back to work, and God has blessed me, you know.
You know, I heard on a sports talk show, Ray Liotta was on, and he was talking about he went to acting class for 7 years after he was a movie star, and Colin Cowherd, I think it was, asked him, "Why'd you do that?" He goes, "I'm an actor."
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Right.
I act.
I'm always going to go to class. I'm always, till one of us kicks a bucket, I'm always going to be working with this guy, because I go to the gym every day, right? Yeah. Why wouldn't I? God has put me in this situation and blessed me to be able to make movies in a town where thousands of people move every single day. And it took off really quick for me. I mean, within weeks of me being in school with Brian, I was on set with James doing UCLA reshooting Breaking Bad, doing Breaking Rad, and I was booking.
Breaking Rad.
Yeah, and so I know people move here, and I don't take my job for granted. I take it very serious, and I think that I want to be the best, and I want to continue to be able to. And it has nothing to do with the accolades or the. I'm an artist, right? I draw, I paint, I make music. I like to create. I used to do clay. I used to do a lot of things. So I love art, and so if you want to be good at something, Kobe Bryant was in the gym every day when people were partying. He's shooting free throws at 4 a.m. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to continue to. If you want to keep that, you have to continue to train, and you got to continue to work. And so
Right.
I don't think I'll ever stop, no matter how big. And I know where I'm headed because of the work I put
Well,
in.
yeah, I talk about Al Pacino's working on plays for 40 years that he's never going to put up.
Amazing.
But he gets together with his guys and they go to the theater
Right.
and they work out.
Every day. And look at guys like Anthony Hopkins, who reads the script 100 times. That's why I don't touch anything until I read it 25 times.
Right.
And the entire front to back. And that's the work that you have to put in. If you want to be good at something, right, you got to work. But if you, like you said, you want to be famous, you want to be a movie star, you want to be a great actor. And so I think if the accolades is what you're after, you still got to put the work in. If the money's what you're after, you still got to put the work in if you want it to last.
You've been watching Brian Lally, Hollywood Native. Now I want to talk to you about something I'm really passionate about, and that's teaching acting. So I co-founded LOLAS Acting School with my son, Kyle Lally, Lally Acting School. I've been acting for a long time now, of 100 plus credits on IMDb, hundreds of plays I've been involved with over the years, and I just want to share that experience with you.
What we do differently here at LOLAS is we give you practical advice that you can use on a movie set, on a play, an audition, anywhere. We give you the foundation to build yourself as a great actor.
If you come to us, you don't know anything, we can teach you everything you need to know to be comfortable on a set and to excel. Don't just listen to me. Look at what our students are doing. Daryl Wesley, who is writing on 2 hit shows, The Game and The Upshaws, and Ben Barrett, who is a series regular on The Politician. Megan Davis, who is playing Amber Heard in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard story. Come check us out. I was in my 20s and I was drunk watching David Letterman, and Eric Roberts was on. I had no idea I wanted to be an actor at this time. And Eric Roberts said, nobody wants to be an actor anymore. They want to be a movie star. And I was sitting there late at night, drunk, and I thought to myself, if I ever did that, I'd want to be an actor. I'd want the respect of my peers.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way for me. And you see a lot of people fail for that reason.
Yeah.
Separate yourself from the pack with the work that you put in. And in that process we talked about, right, that end result in that process, they want to emulate that. The process is where you develop your craft, where you perfect your craft, where you also got to learn to deal with a lot of rejection as an actor.
Yeah.
Right? We deal with more rejection than anybody else in the world. And it's a tough, and not many people make it. So it's a very hard profession that you can get caught up in for 20, 30 years of your life and never make a penny. So all that is worked out through that process of working and just putting in that work. When we were at Studio 4, I was a coach. I was working 3 jobs plus driving an Uber under my ex-wife's name because I didn't even have a driver's license. I was hitting the gym every day. I was also preparing organic, fresh meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for my children, being a husband and doing so many things. And I was still bugging every classmate that I could. Let's rehearse. As I'm doing now, I got people showing up to my house twice a week after a day of being 14, 15, 16 hours. Last Wednesday, I was literally falling asleep the last part of my rehearsal with Sang and Ryan, and shout out to my mofo crew. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I could say Mother Effer with the hat.
Yes, you can. You can say whatever you want in
because I'm
here.
going to put that play up, and so I'm able to. Brian has allowed me, thank God, because a lot of schools, Brian is about teaching acting and developing actors. And so what a lot of acting schools do is they take your money and they want to prolong your career and your stay in that school to take. And it's not about developing actors. So luckily we're in a place where, of course, there's a lot of rules and it's not a playground, but we take it very serious. But he's allowed a few of these students who I don't know if they're fully prepared to work on scenes, but he knows that I'm trying to get somewhere, and so he's allowed that, and I appreciate that. And shout out to my crew, but I feel bad because last Wednesday after my third. So I had 3 of them in the house. I had Haley, I had Ryan, and I had Sang. And I've been gone all day, went to eat with my kids, and I was falling asleep, but that's the work. And I had to stand up, and you got to keep working. And if you want to do it, I mean, I would make people at Studio 4 mad at me. This kid, I mean, because they would say, oh, I got to work tomorrow at 3, and I'm going to go out tonight, and I need to sleep till 1, and we don't have, man, we're going to rehearse, and somebody's got to rehearse. And I had a crew of people that I was just making, showing up to people's houses, keeping them at class, pulling them to my house, taking them to coffee shops. Coffee shops are trying to close. I'm like, give me 30 more minutes. I'll give you $50. I'm almost done. We're finding this moment in this scene. And literally that's who I was. And that's what I think got me to be able to start booking.
But I always talk about that's how Franco was. Franco came up to me. He was an extra at 19 in a movie I was doing. He came up to me and said, how did you get that good? And I didn't have any ego behind it. Like you, I said, when I first started, I had a baby. Kyle, who we know now is 33, had a baby, a full-time job selling cars because I had to have medical benefits because I had a baby. Yeah. And I said I rehearsed 10 times a week. Yep. And then Franco took that and he started rehearsing literally 8 hours a day. Yeah. And people would get mad at him. Hey, James, I'm hungry. Well, fuck that. We gotta rehearse. Right. But that's that's the golden ticket. That's the acting pill that people want to be given. Right. That is the acting pill of work all day and discover your parts because you're not going to find it unless you're working on it. So what I say, which is true, that I believe when I started acting, when you walk in that audition room and there's 8 guys sitting there, you outworked all of them. Right. Yeah. You got that confidence. No matter what else happens, that you've worked harder than anybody in that room. Yeah. And it gives you the confidence
you can walk out. You can walk out feeling like it wasn't. And there's another thing that at Studio 4, because it was a James Franco school, everybody wanted to party. So when I would come in,
it was a James Franco school?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying, but his face was on it. It was your school. I don't mean no disrespect. Don't beat me up. Mr. Lally's tough, guys. I don't want no problems. But it wasn't that. But that's how everyone took it because the name, it said James Franco's Studio 4.
Don't worry, Lee. I talked up his name. Even though I created it.
Yeah, you did create it. Yeah, I know that.
I talked up his name.
For sure. You were very smart.
I'm not stupid.
You guys can fight afterwards.
But look, the reason I say that is because I would show up to these rehearsals, right? And people want to be drinking. And they wanted to be doing this and they wanted to party and they took it as a let's all, and I didn't want to do that, right? And I was still doing music. On top of all that, I was touring. I was recording albums. I was doing shows, 3 or 4 shows a week here in LA. You know what I'm saying? So it was a busy schedule, but I had to find moments. There was even times where I rehearsed before my sets. I would have people from school pull up to my show. You want to rehearse? Cool. I got this moment. And you're going to buy a couple of tickets to come in my show. You know what I'm saying? I got a couple free ones for the first few, but we're going to rehearse for an hour outside or in the back, wherever dressing room I'm at, and then I'm going to come out and rock the stage, and then I'm going to leave. Y'all can party because I got rehearsal with these other people that are just getting off work, and then I got to get home, and I got to still be a husband and a father and all that, and then I got to wake up, and I got to prepare. So you have to do that, though. If you want to be good, when the meaning of separate yourself from the pack, it doesn't have to be by gimmicks or how you look. It's the work you put in. Well, no one has that work ethic. Instagram, mine, all these people have these short attention spans and think that people just become rich overnight because this is the first time you've seen them. They don't understand the family background they come from, the work they've been putting in, who they're related to. There's so many other factors. And if you don't have any of that, I'm from the hood. I'm just a dude that comes from nothing. You know, there's not a lot of success in my family, right? I'm not going to dog my family right now, but I didn't have anybody. I didn't even ride James's coattail when I became friends with him. And, you know, there was times when, you know, he put me in a few projects, but I wanted to earn it. No, I want to read for it. I don't want to don't just give me that role. Let me read for it. Right. And then I don't need your agent. I don't need this. I don't want to go to this party. I just want to do this and I want to work and I'll find my own way. And I would be on set and then somebody would realize, oh, you're James's boy, right? We saw you. Why didn't you just tell us? Because I didn't want to tell you. Right. I want to book this on my own. I want, you know, so that's what gets you to the next level and that's how you last too. Right. You know, that's the work ethic, I think. And I'm not saying I'm better than anybody because I got into this school. I was in my 30s. Right. All these young kids, good-looking kids in their teens and 20s and experienced their whole life. I had no acting experience whatsoever. Right. But I remember my first class with you and the listening and repeating and then Robin. And then I started taking extra classes because I started being offered. I booked some and James was like, look, we need music for this. We're gonna pay you for that because I didn't even tell no one I was a rapper. They all found out. I went to school just trying to focus on rapper. I even tried to go by my first name, and then people found out, oh, that's Lee Coc, and so I couldn't hide from it. And then James found out, and so he started saying, I'm gonna give you free school. And even when I got free school, I went and cleaned that school every day. No matter how, there was nights when I was performing and I got off stage at 2 a.m, but because I had keys and they trusted me and I knew that our students needed a clean school, I went and I cleaned that school. You had already left. Sean had taken over and it wasn't the same after you left. But a shout out to Sean and Matt. They're amazing, right?
Yeah, I love my boy Sean Barnes and Matt
Sean,
Snyder.
Yeah. And so Sean and Matt and Brian and Carmen and James Conner forever, the men who changed my life when it comes to acting, and they all, so I'm not saying, but things have changed obviously, but I would leave set and I would come and clean that school at 2 a.m, from 2 till 3:30 in the morning, go home, have to work on a song for James till 5 a.m, sleep for an hour, get up, prepare breakfast for my kids, hit the gym, right? And I this is when I was working at LA Fitness, so I'd run to the gym, I'd work out, come back, wake the whole family up by 7:30, feed everybody, pack the lunches up, get my wife up. Then you got to do the mommy daddy things because there's not time. Sometimes you have that quick moment, right? And so you have to take care of that part too. Then you take the kids to the school, drop the wife off at work, do this, do that. And so can I rehearse right now? What can I do? Okay, I got to go back to music. Am I working a job at this moment? And if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, be told no. Spend a lot of money on rent, because I went from a place where in Houston I was paying $800 for rent from a beautiful crib to paying $2,600 for a 2-bedroom apartment with one bathroom. And so there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to be willing to make on top of the hard work. And that's what I think, that's where greatness is developed. That's where the toughness, the character, and how bad you really want it, and then if you happen to slip through all those cracks and become someone who's blessed enough to be able to do that, people are going to know if you haven't put in the work, and the work's going to speak for itself. And are people going to walk out of your movie? Are people going to watch your next movie? Are you going to get hired again for another job? Is it going to matter? So where do you want to stand when it comes to that side of being an actor?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So you brought up Houston. You come from
That's right.
Houston, Texas, like Archie Bell and the Drells.
Yeah.
So you just said you came from nothing. So is that what led you to join the military?
No. So I originally went to college to try to play some baseball. I went to a junior college called Blinn. I played ball in high school, and the dream was let's MLB, right? I really wanted to be a football player, but I stopped growing at a certain age. And so sports was what I felt like was always going to take me out, to change my life, get me out of the hood. And I ended up going into the Marine Corps. Going into junior college, and I got in some trouble selling weed. And so there was no opportunity at that to jump in the sports program after you get caught up for that. And so I had to, they let me finish my semester. Obviously I wasn't going to have a chance to do anything. So I moved back to my hometown right outside of, and I already had a son at this point, right outside of Houston,
right.
A little town, Richmond, Rosenberg, the Double R. Shout out to the Double R. I love Richmond, Rosenberg, Twin Cities. Yep, all my people out there, love them. And so I moved out back home, and I didn't have much left, and I was going to get into a lot of trouble because of the situations that I was doing. I kept getting jammed up selling weed, getting caught up with guns and different things, and I had an opportunity. Back then, the Marine Corps was a little more lenient. I think now they're pretty tough on anybody, because you have a lot of people that don't make it through boot camp, and they waste a lot of money putting someone through a program, and they end up dropping out or getting kicked out. So I either go into the Marine Corps or go to prison. And so I went into the Marine Corps. My godfather, Gabrielle, was a big part of that. Like, look, we want you to do something better. Who's my uncle as well. And so I went into the Marine Corps, and I got slack from judges, and because I was looking at some time, and so my oldest son needed a surgery that I couldn't provide for him, and so that was the ticket, And I, when I was that age, I was like, I'm gonna go to prison. I ain't going to Marine Corps. If I get locked up, I get locked up. But because you're young, and you think that's a part of your destiny, and so. My mom, everyone was like, this is the right thing to do. So I went into the Marine Corps, and that's how I ended up. And then when I got out, there was not a lot of options because of, you don't have a good MOS, like something where you can take out to the field. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can be a cop, you can be a border patrol, and so I didn't want to do any of that. And so I went back to the streets, and, I lived, a good life, but making fast money, and, and doing things that I knew that weren't good for my community. And so
Making $2,000 to teach the OGs how to
Yeah.
rock it up.
Yeah. Oh, I would charge more than that. I used to charge more than that. I even sold one of my phones. I remember when I was moving out here, I had a phone that had a line that was licking, and I sold that phone for $7,500. Like, you want this right here? And I was trying to get $10,000 for it, but that's how I used to live. And I moved to LA just on the music. I had been doing music. When I got out the Marine Corps, I lived in Phoenix for a little bit. Excuse me. I lived in Phoenix for a little bit and then moved back to Houston, and I started doing music. I started DJing a little bit in Phoenix, and then I was on set with my guy, The Honorable. Shout out to The Honorable. A couple of people, and they would be like, man, you got a good voice, man. You should rap, man. I was kind of behind the scenes.
Right.
I was slowing music down, like a good friend of mine who passed away, R.I.P. DJ Screw. Everybody who knows about Screw, what they call screw music, chopped and screwed. That's actually, you can't call it chopped and screwed unless DJ Screw did it. That came from Houston, Texas. So shout out to, rest in peace to my brother.
Hanging out with the Ghetto Boys?
Man, Scarface is my brother. Bushwick, my brother. R.I.P. Bushwick just passed away a couple of years ago. Willie D.
Bushwick Bill passed away?
Man, Bushwick
Did
passed
I know?
away,
Oh,
man. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was
I
actually...
got to tell you, one of my favorite all-time beats, I like Simple Things, is My Mind Playing Tricks on Me.
Yeah, that's a great... I forget where that sample comes. That's an amazing beat, man. Amazing song.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Scarface Tiny Desk? You gotta
No.
watch. Man,
No.
one of the... It's by far, there's a lot of great Tiny Desk concerts.
Right.
A lot of them,
Yeah.
trust me. But if you watch the Scarface Tiny Desk concert, to me, by far, not just because I'm biased, Scarface is in my top 5 rappers, dead or alive.
Right.
He's amazing. And so, but that Tiny Desk concert that he did was absolutely phenomenal. You guys got to watch it. Amazing. Shout out to my boy Face, man. Glad you're doing all right. I think Face has got a new project. He's got a new project. I think there was something new that he just did recently, but yeah. Or maybe it was a new song on Ice Cube's new album. He just did something new. I can't remember, but
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, Houston. That's where I come from, man. Those are my guys. But I was DJing, and then I got into being a rapper because I was at that time I was fresh out the Marine Corps, been out a couple of years, and I started to. So now, but this was before there's a YouTube, right? Now we can talk about things, and people say, "Oh, this is a conspiracy theory," right?
Right.
So I've always been infatuated with finding real knowledge and enlightening myself with truth. So I study and read, and I've been doing this since I was a little kid. A lot of different cultures, religions, past wars. Prior to me ever being a military man, I studied war heroes, read great books, and so at that moment I would say I have this thing on my arms, RBG. Shout out to Dead Prez, my big brother, M1, revolutionary but gangster. So if you guys heard of the red, black, and green, I do the red, brown, and green. So at that time in my life, I would talk about and lecture my people about what they ate, how they worked out, about what's going on in society, about all these different things. And so people were like, look, I was a hype man for a couple people when I would be on set. And so like, yo, you got all this stuff to say. You should start rapping. And you should start putting... Because people will listen to you, but if you put it to a song, put it to a beat, people are going to listen to it and they can play it over and over again.
Right.
And so that's how I started doing music, was because I was already DJing. And when you DJ, there's things you say on the back of records. And when you're a hype man for somebody, you're hitting their ad libs or whatever it is. And we would rock crowds, me and this guy On and the Honorable, and he's an amazing Christian rapper now. He's a pastor, Paul Taylor. You guys got to check him out. His rap name was the Honorable, and so that's how I got into music. And fast forward to me coming to LA, I came out here for the music. I started coming out here doing a few shows, working with some LA artists, and then I started getting. The streets were caving in on me. I was getting locked up, in and out of being locked up, and I was trying to be around for my last 3 kids more than I was for my first son. And so I had to make a change. And I moved to LA, and I got into an incident and got caught up with a lot of money. And so nothing else but a lot of money, but eyes were already on me. And so my lawyer at the time was like, look, man, you're going to LA a lot. You're a good father. I was coaching kids. You're a great coach. And you're going to get caught up out here. I mean, you got some talent. So why don't you go out to LA and just pick up and change your life, or you might not make it out of Houston. And that's what I did. And then a year after being here, I ended up in Studio 4. And now I still do music, but now acting has changed my life, yeah.
Acting has changed your life. And you had booked a sitcom. Your life was about to be easy.
Oh.
And then something happened that changed.
Yeah, that breaks
your
my
life.
heart, man. That's And you know what? I'm glad that I can talk about stuff like this now, because I think prior to me being an actor, I was always very I wasn't open with my emotions or my feelings because of how I was in the streets and being a Marine and how I was being raised. And yeah, I lost everything. I fell from grace for a moment. And
But you did what needed to be done.
yeah. I protected my daughter and my son from somebody who tried to do something bad to him. Yeah, I just booked a shout out to Chris, this show called This Fool. At first it was called Punk Ass Bitch, which is a great name because it was a Hulu and Disney owns Hulu. So I kept thinking, like, I remember during COVID, we're pulling up to do the COVID test, right? Because what movie are you here for? Because it would be different sites, and I'm here for Punk Ass Bitch. And out here I'm this tough guy in glasses, and usually, you know what I mean? And so I'm walking up, I'm here for Punk Ass Bitch, you know? And it's funny because I rode with an actor one time, and this never happened to me, and I'll tell you why. The reason I say that is, oh, punk ass bitch. And right, because they didn't see me in the car. And then the guy sees me. And every time I walked up, they were always scared to say that to me. Because the way I looked, we don't want to say punk ass bitch to him, but I liked saying it to them. So that was the show I had booked. I went out for the lead role, which Frankie Quinones, we had a screenshot. It was between me and Frankie. Some of the producers and stuff wanted to go my way. Actually, and then the guy who wrote the show, Chris, and his, Frankie's his like best friend. Shout out to Cholo Fit. If any of you guys know Cholo Fit, that's Frankie, man. I don't think it could have been any other way but Frankie. So I went out for that lead role that Frankie got, and I ended up booking another role, a recurring role. That after they saw me work, they said, we want to turn this into a series reg. We like the way you work. We want to bump you. And so we shot the pilot, and my life was going to change. And I booked it. And it got picked up. And then on my 9th year anniversary, on July 9th of 2021, my 9th year anniversary of pulling into California, this gentleman broke into my house and tried to do something bad to my little girl and my son. Luckily, I got home in time. He already had a long history of doing stuff like this.
In the same building.
In the same building. And he even broke into one of my neighbors, was wearing her lingerie, was doing some bad acts to himself and smoking. And he got arrested several times, and the building next door. And he had some stuff on his record, right? And so, he tried to do some bad things to my kids, and I saved them. And then it trickled in because of what he said, triggered some things, and he wanted to come back and made that very clear. And
he said, I'm coming back to get your daughter.
The words he used is, I'm still going to come back and fuck the shit out your little girl. And I hate to say that, but I have to say it. I think so some people understand. As a father, I'm a protector, I'm a Marine, I'm a father. You can't say something like that. And the look of my little girl when I ran inside and I saw her, she was terrified. So, as a father, I can't really say what I did because I blacked out. And the next thing you know, I was sitting back in front of my porch. I don't remember anything until I was sitting back down in front of my porch again, waiting for the police to show up, and they never did. And so then I got paranoid. I used to watch this show, First 48, and I hate watching it, right? But I was stuck watching it. It's about, they had 48 hours to catch. And so I didn't know the gentleman was going to die at the time. He passed away the next day. The cops never came to my house, so I went by myself. I didn't know, because we had called the police. They never even showed up. And so I came back 2 days later. If I was going to get arrested or had to turn myself in, I was going to do that without my children seeing that. And all this had happened on my 9th year anniversary. We find out the show's picked up. All these great things are about to happen. I've got action on all these other shows that are about to come up. And this happens. And 2 days later, I come back and I have this job as a tour salesman. It's a great job. Sure. People who recognize me on TV, they're like, why are you working this job? It's an amazing job. We provide an amazing service.
Right.
And it helps pay the bills when you want to live in LA and you got kids in college and you got young kids and, it's very expensive. So I'm not too proud to get out and work for my family, because I grew up, participating in other ways to make money, to get my family out of a situation. And now if I'm blessed with an opportunity where I don't have to do that, I'm man enough to go and get up every day and work. I used to think the working man was a sucker, but it's a real man go out and work and bust their ass for their family, and so I do that. And so, I booked that show. 2 days later, I come back and I say, you know what, I'm going to work today and then I'm going to take my family to dinner. I still didn't know this guy passed away. And then the cops came, swooped up on me, took me to the police station. was the craziest day of my life. This was, then I was told, yeah, the gentleman passed away. And it was crazy because even the police, the detectives were like, you know, one of the cops even said, man, we failed you. This guy should have been put away. He already had a lot of stuff.
Right.
There's a lot of different things. And
repeat offender.
Repeat offender. And,
should not have been there.
Should not have been there. And even the detective was like, we would have did worse than what you did. One detective tells me he would have, you know, burned the guy alive, put him in his trunk and all kinds of stuff. But they said, man, well, unfortunately, the DA picked up charges and you're being charged with first-degree murder. Your bail is, I think it was $5.2 million.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so hold up. I can't go see my kids, or can I smoke a cigarette or something? Like, this got to sit in for a second. Like, wait, hold on. And so, yeah, they held on to my role up until about October. We fought the case. There was times when, you know, shout out to my guy Usher. Thank God for James, though, man, because David Garrett wouldn't have been there to get my lawyer, Michael Becker. Man, I love you, Mike. If you're listening to this, man, you saved me, brother, and I owe you a Mercedes, because I'd probably still be locked up without that guy. And thank you, Brian. Brian was one of the only guys that came and saw me in there, you know. So I made it through that, but I lost that role. And it would have been a life-changing role, but there's a lot of great things that transpired from all that happening. I really found a connection with God, right? A lot of people find that cliche when you go to jail. You don't have to be like that, because at the end of the day, I'm a very vicious person, and I can adapt to my whatever type of environment I'm in. I can adapt the way that I need to. I could have went one way when I went to prison, but instead I knew that when there was a moment for me to get back to my children, if I wouldn't have had kids, I wouldn't have cared. When I had that opportunity to have a date to come home, because I got a lot of brothers in there will never come home. I knew that I had to do the right thing and I had to be grateful. So shout out to Michael Becker. I love you. James will always have a special place in my heart because of David Garrett and allowing Michael to come there. Right. But there was a moment, even Usher, Usher he was going to maybe bail me out and do some stuff to help. But with PR and all that stuff, I don't know how all that stuff works, but, from my ex-wife was talking to him more, trying to figure all that out. But I didn't get bailed out, and they held on till about October. I got locked up in July, and then they were like, look, we got to recast you if you're not going to come out, because then they had to shoot the show. Right. And they recasted me, and I didn't get the show. But I met a lot of great people, and I found God, and I think that's more important. And then, I wouldn't have my baby. I wouldn't be probably in your class. I got, she's here with me right now. I met her, so she's been very, life-changing for me. So there's been a lot of great things that came from that, and I got a big court date coming up to get my children. You know what I'm saying? So we're fighting for
March
that.
14th.
March 14th. So hopefully my
birthday.
boy. And Jesus can't wait to take your class. So my son Jesus,
that's
he's
awesome,
an actor,
man.
and that's what he does. That's all he wants to be, and that's all he wants to do. So
That's
he's
awesome.
excited. And so, we're here and lost the show, but I gained a lot of other great things. And what's mine is mine, and what God has for us, you think of the book of Job, you think of Joseph, you think of all these great men in the Bible that lost everything, and God repaid them, and I'm nothing like them. So I trust that everything will work out the way it should,
Yeah, and that was a pretty, rough run going to court and whatnot, and with the DA talking about this was a hate crime.
Right.
And
they actually, not to cut you off, they actually tried to compare this to the Ahmaud Arbery case, which broke my heart when I found that out, because they didn't want to cut me no slack. It was 25 to life, 25 to life every time I was going to court. No visits, no phone, no money on the books. I had to do my own hustling in there, and I had big books and big thing. I had a homegirl, Joy, take care of me while I was in there, and I had, I was paying bills for my family when I was in there, paying $1,000 a month car note. I wasn't bugging nobody for money on my books. I had no visits beside Brian. A couple of times, media came to try to see me, and I walked out anytime that happened because I wasn't allowed to say anything. And Timur, this guy came and saw me once, and Brian came to see me, and Brian actually, he snuck my glasses there for me.
I'm in there committing crimes in
was that
prison.
Story?
In prison.
So everybody knows my vision. I hate to wear glasses. I hate them, and I can't wear contacts because my astigmatism is so bad. I think they have new ones now, but they used to only have glass contacts for the type of astigmatism I have, and so my vision is horrible. And so I started really reading books and a lot more. And Brian was trying to bring me plays, but they would send me a few things. So I needed my glasses. And so I shot a kite to Matthew, and Matthew got a hold of Brian. He needed his glasses. And so you can't bring anything in, but the female guards, they knew me. A lot of them knew me from the movies and TVs. And I was like, look, I really need these. She didn't let him bring none of the plays in, but I was like, I need my glasses, man, please. And she brought them in for me. Yeah. And so, but it was rough, man. It was a rough time. When you're doing that time on your own, man, like with no business,
yeah.
no none of that.
Yeah.
It was rough, man. I cherished the times that you came, but it was hard when you walked out.
And they shipped you around.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was trying to come up north to see you, and they were moving you all sorts of places.
Yep,
So
yeah. It's crazy.
that's because you were
I was
throwing
getting it
down
in-
too
yeah,
much.
Yeah, I was getting in it a little bit here and there, you know, and I stayed on the main line when I touched down. You know, I didn't go into protective custody, so that gets a little wild being from Texas. And you know, these boys out here, they're serious about what they got going on. And I, you know, shout out to all the homies and that showed me love, man, because it could have went way different for me. They don't. California is not no playground when it comes to being in that penitentiary. You know what I'm saying? That system ain't no joke. And I got a lot of homies that, you know, I carry myself a certain way though. Don't get me wrong. You know, there ain't nothing about me. Anybody knows it. Ain't no punk in my blood. So, but you can't face the system like this. And you know, I'm Hispanic. I'm Mexican. So being tattooed and coming, you know, and I'm also I got affiliation back where I'm from, right? And so, you know, it's like coming out here. It's a whole new ball game, and I can't sell my brothers back that stand behind a different set of principles and rules and how we come from to just, so you got to stand on who you are, and I had to do that, and it could have been bad for me, but I had homies that had my back because they knew I was with it, you know, and I appreciated that. And shout out to all my homies, man. That's a lot. I had a lot of good Saleños and a lot of good homies that had my back. So, you know, homies and I got love for them. You know, it's a whole new love I got for California because I made it out of that prison system and I was able to do my time, and a lot of good homies, you know.
Yeah, but you had to stay clear of being affiliated in prison,
Right?
Because you get caught up.
And then you might not make it out, and that's not the part you really worry about, right? Because when you love somebody, when that's all you have in there, there's a love in there, man. Where when you get a crew or when people have your back, there's something, you know, as men, I think you stand on a certain set of principles. So it wasn't just that, but I had to make it home to my kids.
Right.
My babies needed me. And I'm never going to say nothing bad about their mom or about anything that they went through, or that, you know, I'm not saying I'm not insinuating any of that, right? That's not who I am, but they needed their daddy, and I needed to make it to them.
Right.
And so I needed to make it out. And I need to make it out. I think I always felt like I had this pressure on my shoulder to lead the world in the right direction, to leave some type of mark so, you know, I can inspire people in some type of positive way to make changes in whatever type of lifestyle they're living, you know?
Yeah, I like the halfway house you ended up in.
Yeah.
Because
Amity, shout out to Amity, yeah.
Definitely shout out to Amity, because I had to take that course.
Yep.
90 minutes, people talking and videos, and we had to watch that. And I was impressed that they were teaching people vocations, because as we know, people get let out of prison with a couple bucks and the clothes on your back, and you got, what are you going to do? Hey, nothing.
I was able to come out of there with 50 grand because of that program versus the $225 check that they give us. I was able to come out of that place. Fred Price, my demonstrator, I love you, brother. Shout out to Fred. Shout out to Danny. Shout out to Raul. Shout out to Liz. You know, even the POs that stayed on Miss C. Hey, I know you were tough on me. Thank you, though. It kept me in line. My guy G, man, he's a CO there, man. I love you, G, and I hope that we can have dinner now that once I get off parole, man. T, he was real tough when he's one of the COs. They have some free staff and some prison staff. T was always on my ass, but hey, I stayed in line. And you know, anybody that I missed, man. I mean, Big C, everyone there. You know, there's so many people I can name. Both of the Stacys that are there, man. I love y'all. Everyone. There's moments in there, you get there's some things that we don't like in there, but it's way better than being in prison. I spent my last 18 months there versus being locked up. Shout out to the warden at Abanoff for letting me go there, because they didn't want to let me go.
Right. But I just want to go back to the vocation, because that place gave you, if you chose to do it, gave you an opportunity to learn a job and get a job that paid you a decent wage and medical benefits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just thought that was, you know, taking that little course that day was very important to find out that people are getting help. Because I've been to jail, never been to prison.
Right.
But, you know, no future. What else are you going to do except sell dope? I mean,
That's all.
You know what I mean?
Go back to robbing.
Right. Yeah. Well, rip and running. I just thought it was a good play. I was happy to see that, because being in a program as long as I have, the programs, and being sober 37 years, and being a street crackhead in South Central for all those years,
right?
Just seeing people go down that had no backup, that had no family,
Right.
and just end up in the system. I got a friend doing 45 to life, right now that I grew up with for killing his boyfriend, but he was a straight out, tatted up white dude. And, I've seen it. I saw his run.
Yeah.
From when we were 16, 17, he started going to prison. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And he's illiterate. He can't read a lick at that time. And it's like people get no chance.
No.
So again, to be at your place there and see what they're offering people, which doesn't happen a lot, and so few people get the opportunity to be in that place.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's really,
So,
and they don't play when you're in there, man.
No.
Any little thing, they send you back to prison.
No, I know that from you. I know
Yeah.
that from you. They threw you up against the wall a few times.
Couple of times, yeah.
Shackled
Couple of times.
you and
Shackled me up a couple of times,
Yeah.
man. Got caught up with some money I wasn't supposed to have in there.
Right.
A couple of times, man. Yeah, and then I saw a lot of people go back. Hundreds go back. And then look, let me. If you caught up and if the big homie lets you go to that yard, if you're affiliated with one of these. And you get to go and program, because when you're there, you're basically programming with all kinds of people. It's basically called a program yard. In prison, it's a term. It's like a PC yard. So you're now programming with PCers, with guys who have dropped out or have done other things. And so it's not a good place to go and then squander that opportunity and then have to go back,
Right.
to prison when other guys who wish they could have that opportunity, who are not going to squander. There's a lot of good men in prison that need to be out and should be out, and they're never going to get out. And there's guys that are fighting to get out. Shout out to my guy Fox, Zacatecas, like some of my good homies in there that are doing time. The big homie Dopey, man. Shout out to a lot of good people, man. There's a lot of good people in there, man, that they paid their debt to society, man. And we got to get these guys out. So if you get an opportunity to go to a program like that, you don't want to mess around. And I never messed around there, man. I tried to help as many people. Luckily, I had my tour job to fall back out on. If you guys are ever in LA, come see me. Hollywood LA Tours. My guy Nate, you know what I'm saying? I got to plug the spot. Shout out to Steve and Kenny and X and the homies up there. Sal, you know what I'm saying? Freddie, Gladys, everybody. But I had that job to come back to. And after you put in a certain amount of months in of taking the classes, I mean, they really helped me. They made me take anger management. There was a lot of things that I had to take, and they hold your feet to the fire. So, yeah, there's a lot of bullshit that goes on. And because when you get that close to the streets, when you finally get a phone, and it's like you want to just hit the ground running, and we
Right.
think we're ready, but there's not.
Right.
I know a lot of guys who made it successfully through that program, and they're now dead. They OD'd. They're dead. They're back in prison. All that because they still weren't prepared after being
Right.
in a program like that. And that program really tries to help you,
Right.
and it's
Right.
still really hard for a felon.
I'll tell you the craziest thing to me about going to visit you at that place, because on visiting day, the families were there.
Yeah.
So you're seeing straight out fucking vato gangsters, but they don't have the face on anymore.
Yeah, nah, straight
because they're
killers
not
in there.
they're not in the prison yard. So they're there with fucking all sorts of numbers I'm not going to mention on their head because they come from all these different cliques.
Yeah.
And they are fucking straight
Coming
out
back to life.
murderers.
Yeah.
And they're there with their mom and dad and sister.
Yeah.
And they're goofing around.
Yep.
All that's gone. They're just it's like Jimmy Smits in Mi Familia when he gets out of the penitentiary, out of La Pinta,
Yeah.
and his mom is kind of talking him down, and he's just kind of sheepish, you know what I mean? He's such a good actor. So these guys are here in the yard there, and they're just laughing and smiling.
Yeah.
And you don't see that on the street.
no, you're not
you don't
gonna-
see
yeah,
that
yeah.
back in the day in Boyle Heights.
Nah.
They are straight out ready to fucking cap you.
My homie Jonathan, he got out like a month before me. He was a vicious dude, right? And his kids would come and paint makeup on his face.
Yeah.
And like his wife would come in a wheelchair every week to see him, every Saturday and Sunday. His kids to see that. And I always tried to stay away so family, because a lot of people knew I was an actor. I was the guy who spoke. The only reason I didn't speak when Brian came, because I started a running club with the director Raul. So on Saturdays I started.
Oh, yeah, you were running crazy miles,
21 miles,
man.
I think the day you came, or 23, but we were running 21, 23, 18, 17. Me and my guy Oscar, I call him the Golden Boy. Shout out to my boy Oscar. He's doing some great things. He's got a little program now where he just did 13 years. Scott Budnick, a good friend of his. Who shout out to Scott also for everything he's doing to help people. He's got a company too. Scott ARC, and he's doing great things for getting people out of prison. And so, yeah, man, there's a lot of people that come in there, like Brian said, and then they get to be human again.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
they get
yeah. That's a good term, man, because that's what they are,
because in
and
there
they're seeing with their families.
you can't show none of that in there.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I never got no visits
Yeah.
in prison, so I couldn't imagine. I think in prison you could get a little more like hugs and all that, but I never got that. I got a few behind the glass when we were in the county when I was fighting my case, but yeah, you're not going to see any of that in prison. And you know, prison is not good, man. In America, we're the only country where people are never. I mean, you got El Salvador for some of what they're doing now, but prison is just in America, man. It's $1 billion industry that is they destroying families, man. And it's all connected into the judges and DAs and the public defenders and the stocks that are behind all that and the money that's being made and the COs and the unions behind all that. It's not a place that's designed to keep you out.
I remember
they want you to come back.
Speaking of the DAs, I remember that you had told him, he said he's coming back to get my daughter. And that dude with the dreads, the black cat.
The DA.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I want to say too. But he... And he said, everybody says that. And then they found that woman in your building who said, no. He said that to me.
Yeah.
He was in my apartment. He says, I'm coming back to get you. You know what I mean? So there were some blessings that came along the way.
Michael
you know what
Becker,
I mean?
man, that's all Michael. Michael took my case pro bono. I had some money, right, for the first time in my life, but I wasn't with someone who like God forbid something. It's never going to happen to me again. But God forbid the shoe was. If this was a different situation, right, and this would have been my partner right here, and I would have went through something like that, my money would have been safe. My kids would have been safe, right? And so I didn't know what was going to happen, and a lot of stuff disappeared. And I'm not going to get into any of that. But what I'll tell you is, Michael Becker took my case pro bono, and he even on his dime, he doesn't even live here. He represents here, Vegas, and I think Florida and Colorado. He's a high-profile attorney. He was on the Lady Gaga dog when her dog Walker got shot up. Great guy, great attorney. He flew a guy out here from Vegas on his own dime, to do all those interviews and to get all that all that. So if I would have just got a public defender, you know, because at some point I know Usher had discussed also helping out with a lawyer, but I know at the end of the day, and I don't never want to blame. I'm not, but James. And Garrett came through with me for Michael Becker. You know what I'm saying? And Michael Becker really saved my life and got me through that and out of that because they wanted to hang me. They really want. And even every cop, every CO was like, man, you shouldn't even be in here. But that DA had it out for me for some reason, man. And it was this guy had just broken into my ex-wife's car on camera a couple of days before that, stole all my kids' baseball equipment out. He had already got caught masturbating outside the building. He already had all this, and he was out there. And I'm not justifying my acts, right? Because people have the right to change, and I didn't give that man that right. And you know, and it's a tough situation, you know. But God knows what's going to happen in your life, and I'm here. But it was great to make it out of that. I'm very blessed, and I don't squander that. I'm not going to mess that opportunity up. And places like Amity gave me because I wouldn't. If I would have just got out, I don't have no help like that. I mean, my mother, man, God bless her soul. Hopefully she'll be able to retire at some point, but she did a lot for my kids when I was locked up, man. Because, you know, people don't think about what you leave behind. There's way more victims in your crimes when you do things than you think, right? And that's another thing I learned in a place like Amity, right? And all the classes I took and stuff that my guy Fox, people that are in prison trying to fight to get out, hold these courses to try to get men out of prison. You know, they have an opportunity. They give their life for that. And some of them are never getting out, but they do it with passion and love. And there's a lot of strong men that need to be out of prison, man. And I'm very thankful that I'm out of there because I saw people doing a lot more time for doing way less. I met a guy that got 12 years because he was homeless. He was on drugs. He was homeless, African-American brother. And he ran to get some food out of a Stater Brothers or something in the IE, I can't remember where, and ran, and they tried to get him from him, and he just kept running and knocked one of the guys over. The guy hit himself on some fruit, but just kept running. Another guy grabs him, knocks him over, and that's robbery. Now you know, that's assault. That's all these different, and the dude gets 12 years for trying to feed himself. You know what I'm saying? And I make it out in 42 months, you know, for protecting my daughter, for taking a man's life, you know.
I saw the video, you know.
Man, I still haven't looked at it, man. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
You know, the crazy thing is, I don't believe it's because you hit him, I believe it's because he got up and fell down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't believe it was a result of what you did. I believe it was a result of the aftermath, which I guess they don't take into consideration. But yeah, a whole lot of things went wrong there. But anyway, it was yeah. You don't want to watch the video.
It's not that I don't want to watch it. Man, I've you know, this is I've been in
Or maybe
a
you
lot
do.
of different combat situations, but in my house too, you know. Then I also heard because he had the severed liver or whatever, you know. And it was a few times that, you know, this guy taunted me a lot. That's what I do remember.
Well, no, you can see on the video.
Yeah.
You can see on the video he taunted you. You could
And
see.
he was high. He had a crazy amount of methamphetamines
Right.
and fentanyl in his system too. You know, and he
Yeah.
climbed my building. If you saw my building, he literally climbed the side of my building.
Right.
And came from the roof and jumped onto my patio. He knew
Yeah.
that my kids were home alone. He was always hanging out, watching cars, and you know, I don't want to get into. They shouldn't have been there though. The kids shouldn't have been there. Thank God I got there in time. You know.
Well, yeah, but I always say they were safe on the third floor.
Yeah, they should have been.
Who knows?
Yeah,
He's
they
gonna
should've been.
climb
Yeah.
up on the roof and jump down.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with
There
what
was
you
one
did
time
in
my
that.
my kids were eating on the balcony. I had my balcony set up really cool, and he was in between them, the next building, touching himself, looking at my kids. And we
Oh,
had to call the
Jesus.
police on him. Well, I didn't, but my neighbor saw him and called the police on him that day because she was outside in her patio, and he was, and my kids, and you know, and my son, True, man. I love all my children, man, but he was there. I hate to talk about this, but I have to say he's a brave kid because he was 12 at the time, and he was trying to fight that guy off on his own until I got there. So, you know, you know, it's a shout out to him for being strong. He's a great young man right now. He took care of his little sister, you know, until I got there. So, yeah, that was a crazy situation.
Right. So what's going on music wise, man? You're
Man.
posting all the time. You
I'm
got your
working on
boys.
3 EPs.
Right.
It's crazy. I'm doing a country album.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm doing a country EP, 4 tracks. I'm working on a Christian EP, and then I'm working on an album. And then I'm working on some projects with some other people, Jay Jeezy, Fileto, Tommy G, my boy Milton. I'm trying to right now work on getting a track together with D Baby from Houston. And yeah, we got, you know, got our hands in a few things. Frenchie game, we got these fluffy Frenchies getting ready to take off. You got to check out my nephew, Baby Apes Exotics, Jacob. We got some great Frenchies in the game right now. Best breed, best bloodline. My little guy Gunner. You guys seen Gunner? So yeah, we got that going on. I got my boy PHK too. He's got some great bullies. My boy Mike. So we got our hands in the dogs. You know, Untamed Exotics. We got our hands in the dog industry as well. But you know, I'm focused on just the acting and getting my life. I'm focused on just getting me being back to being, you know, dad, Lee Coc, my kids. I got an amazing new woman in my life, Fabiola. I love her. You know, she's amazing. So I get to have that back in my life. So these are things that you take a lot of life for granted when you're in when you're locked up. You realize all the things that you have, right, and the things that you don't have, and the people you thought were one way that aren't. And so I want to take my life a little slower because I'm a hard worker, man. I can't ever sleep in. I can't ever sit still. And so I'm trying to work on that part of my life, and I'm excited to get back to acting. You know, Gary, my agent, man, he stuck with me, you know, through this thing. And Brian and even Matt, even though Matt's not moving back, still makes me upset, Matt, if you're listening. But I love you, bro. And I always will. He won't be far, though. He'll be close by, so we'll be able to go visit him. He's going to move to Vegas. So I'm
Oh, is he?
excited about that, yeah.
Okay.
But we, you know, Brian and I and my agent, we're going to get back to this acting thing. And you know, if Brian agrees to, hopefully we're going to direct this play and put this play up.
Hell yeah.
And it's going to be big. We're going to work on it in class, and then we'll hold some auditions and put it all together. But I can't wait to get back to acting. I can't wait to get back in my kids' lives, man. That's the most important. True
Yeah.
sports, man. Being
Yeah.
a dad and coaching. True is an amazing athlete.
Right.
My daughter MJ is an amazing artist and athlete. You know, Jesus is going to graduate, so I can't wait to just be a dad. You know, I'm just adjusting. It was a long 42 months, and so right now I'm kind of taking my time a little bit, but I'm still staying very productive and still, you know, in the right direction. I had some great auditions so far since I've been out. I've only been out for about 100 days or so, a little over 100 days, I
Damn,
think.
really? Jesus.
And yeah, it's got the ankle monitor off now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was only out for two days, and then they put the ankle monitor back on me, so I just got that off
Right.
about a month ago, so I can actually go to class, because I had been trying to go to class for a minute.
Right.
And we were trying to get that cleared. I had a curfew for when I first got out for a while, 10 o'clock, and 2200 I had to be in. Not actually I had to be in 2155, close to that box, before this thing starts vibrating. It's crazy because I can still feel it vibrate. It's not even on my leg no more. I feel the ankle monitor
That's
from when I was in the program too. Like when we were in trouble, that thing vibrates. And
Yeah.
I got in trouble a few times.
Yeah.
But that's the plan, man. I got some new headshots I'm about to upload, but I'm about to shoot some new ones.
Right.
Booked a couple of gigs since I've been out with Yakuza Premium, couple of modeling gigs, some video shoots and commercials, and yeah, we almost booked 3 guest stars. Almost booked those, and we getting back to it.
Yeah. I want to talk about the most important thing that we've missed so far. How's your shoe game going?
Man, look, I have been blessed enough to be able to still get some great shoes. That's the only thing I really spend my money. I charge my credit cards up. I collect shoes. I just got the flu games. I got them on feet. I wasn't going to wear them. And baby was like, just put them on. You have them. You got to wear them. So I got the flu games on that dropped. These are Jordans. If you guys don't know about the flu games.
Oh,
so
I don't know nothing about the flu
these are
games.
some Jordan 12s. And yeah, he wore them. He had a big game when he had a flu. He had the flu.
I know that game.
Yeah.
So I know that game for sure.
So the shoes that
yeah.
he wore that.
Yeah,
that's
he tore it up.
Yeah, these are called flu games. But
Yeah.
I just picked up the Galaxies. I just picked up a bunch of Kobe's, man. Shout out to Drip LA, man. My guy Jay. Both of them, Johnny and both of the Jays that work there and the owners, man. That they show me a lot of love. If you guys are ever in LA and you want to get the dopest gear, sneakers, man, you got to hit Drip LA. Follow them on Instagram, Drip LA. And check them out, man. They take care of me. And my guys at Chic in Hollywood, too.
We got to see the shoe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's let me show you. Yeah, here, you take it off. Yeah, man. This is, I had to wear it with the Bruce Lee fit today.
I see.
Yeah.
Be like water.
Yes,
oh.
sir.
Oh, that cool.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You're matching my hat.
That's right. I got to get you a pair, man. We got to get you some stuff, man. Now I know you wear a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the.
Hey, I like your sneakers too, though. Like she said, you got some crazy.
I had
ones on, too.
I had the CPs on last night. I had no
Yeah.
idea. I had those shoes for a year.
I had to tell them
and
they
you
were-
come
yeah.
up and like, that's the Chris Pauls.
Yeah.
So
That's right. I love those, man.
I got to clean them up. I got to learn how to. You got to teach me how to clean them up because they look so good when they're clean. But no, I had the CPs on last night. Shout out to Joey Engel.
Yeah, that's
My
right.
son's best friend Joey hooks me up with all the shoes. Thank you, Joey.
Hey, and I
That's
gotta
Joey
say,
Dot.
it's one quick thing. I left somebody out. I think there was two people very instrumental to a lot of my success as far as coming out. And there's a guy named Dave. There's this thing called Only Hope Ministries, and they come and minister to people in the county jail. And so I met these two gentlemen. It's owned by a gentleman named Frank. They get a lot of help from Grace Community Church. John MacArthur, man, shout out to him. I hope you're doing well. We love you. If you guys want to go to a great church, go to Grace Community Church. But Trey and Dave from Only Hope Ministries, man, they're chaplains that would come and see us when we were locked up. And they were really instrumental to helping me get through this situation and very encouraging and giving me different books and stuff to bring me closer to God. And even since I've been out, Dave would come see me at Amity and Trey had just took Fabiola and I to go eat. He comes to see me every other Saturday out in the boulevard. Actually, man, his really good friend is your really good friend, the Mexican guy. They just, you guys, oh my God. I got to text Trey. He knows you really well, man. His partner, they come and see me a lot. And he talked to you not too long ago. Y'all went to school together. Y'all were at Playhouse. Y'all did some plays together. His name is Hispanic guy. He's into the church now big time. He goes to Grace as well.
Not Ricardo. Cisnero.
I can't remember. I'm going to get his name because he always talks about you, and I always talk about you every time he comes to see me, and I cannot, I'm having for the life of me, but I wanted to shout
He
Trey
wasn't
out.
at UCLA with us doing Breaking Rad,
No,
right?
no, he
Okay.
wasn't doing Breaking Rad with us. No, I'll get his name I'll call Trey and when we're done. And but anyways, I gotta just shout out Trey too, man. He's like my spiritual advisor, and these men and are very instrumental. Brian, Matt, Trey, and me becoming.
Not the Molina brothers. I'm trying to think.
No, I don't think he has a brother.
Okay.
I'll get the name for you though. When I say it, you're
Shout
gonna
out Molina brothers.
yeah, but I wanted to shout Trey out, man, just because he's an amazing guy and he's really helped me through a lot, and I couldn't leave him out with all this, and had to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, man. Don't leave anybody behind.
No,
man.
I got a lot of good friends. Jeremy, my boy Prince AJ, a lot of people that were there for me, man. After, I didn't tell a lot of people when I first got locked up. I kind of was I was just doing that time on my own, and it wasn't until after I was locked up for a while that my close friends, found out I was there, because it's a tough situation, you never want to be a burden to nobody. I wasn't the type of guy to be harassing people for money on my books every day and all this stuff, So, when people did find out, man, my brother Wes, his whole family, the Fall family, they were there for me too, man. So people like that got me to where I'm at right now, to be here to do this and to get back on track, and I can't wait to get to work, man. I'm excited. Matthew and my lawyer used to say, you're going to be so much better. Your acting is going to get, you used to tell me too, you're going to get to the next level. And I mean, you're talking about, being an actor and being exposed, having to expose yourself to all these feelings and tearing all these masks and these walls and these things that we wear in the streets, and being Marines and being who we are as men and fathers, this machismo, like the way I grew up, and then to spend so much time at Studio 4 in emotional preparation classes with you and with Sean Barnes, to be able to get there as an actor and then to go to jail at 41 and lose everything. It was an experience, you know what I mean? And there's now so much that I can pull from, that I already had this great, vast, just this places to pull from as an actor, right? I always try to rechannel this stress, this into my acting, into my working out, into my music. Instead of lashing out one way or doing this, I now use that to find moments in my acting to really dig deep and to hold that mirror up to society, to be a reflection of whatever I have now taken places. This is my life at this moment. When I'm shooting this is who I am. And so now I have even more to pull from. And there was a lot of great people that got me to where I'm at. And I owe it to everybody. And then, believe it or not, and this, look, I'm not trying to sound cheesy, but I got a woman now who's also, showing me something that I've never seen before, right? So it really, it reminds me that I got people now that love me and care for me, and you don't want to make a mistake like this again. And look, I can't say that if my kids were ever in a situation, that's one thing I told the warden that let me out. He asked me if I would ever do this again when he let me go to that program. And I didn't want to lie to him, right? I didn't want to say, because as a father, you're never thinking like, I'm going to kill somebody for my children, right? That's not what you think. But if your children, you'll do anything to make sure they're safe, is all I'm trying to say.
That's your job.
Try to step in a lion's den when his cubs are in there. Try that and see what happens. See how that works out for you. But because we're humans, right? But even some dogs, go around some birds in the air, go around the nest. So this is natural.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been to Australia with the magpies? That
No.
is very serious. They have to
Yeah.
put up signs to be like, they'll go crazy if you walk anywhere near.
I used to deliver furniture in Beverly Hills, and I'd park my car, and these birds would swoop out of the trees. And you know what I mean? They're protecting it. It's crazy. That's funny you said that. That was a long time ago.
My mother, man, you ever try to mess with me around my mom, she ain't having it. My grandma, her mom, you try to mess, I was her. She almost beat her own son up one time for me, So it's like, yeah, these are my babies. And shout out to my mom and my little sister too, because they were there for my kids, man. And I found a new relationship with them. Things ain't always been the best with that. And now, they're man, I love them. I've always loved them to death, don't get me wrong, but they really did a lot for me and my kids. What they could do all the way from Texas, especially for my children. It wasn't me, I'm a big boy, I can get through it, but they were very instrumental in my kids to help them as much as they could, and still are, they're some rocks for me and my kids, so I appreciate all that,
Yeah. All right, man.
Thank you, man.
It's about that time.
Yeah, I appreciate everything,
And thank
man.
you for your service, man.
Hey, man.
Thank you for your
That's
service.
Why we do it.
Appreciate
Simplify
it,
to all
man.
my brothers, man. Simplify.
All right.
Lee, do you want to look into the camera and just tell people where they can find you?
Yeah. So my name's Lee Coc. Obviously, you can find me on Everything is Lee Coc, Leecoc at Instagram. I also have a website, leecoc.com. X, Snapchat, Facebook, it's all Lee Coc. My what is it? TikTok is Holder of the Light, and then you can search my music anywhere. Music is available. Lee Coc, Holder of the Light. It's LEE-COC, and then Holder of the Light in quotations. You can find that my music on any platform. Music is available. I got a couple new albums coming out, and come to our acting school, man. Come to
Lola's acting school.
Come to Lola's acting school. It's amazing, man. If you guys want to really learn how to act and come have some fun and come play with us, man, please, man, come play and come check us out.
Hoorah.
Yes, sir. All right.